Hiya, and welcome to Lost Inwood Panoramas. Inwood is a neighborhood bounded on three sides by water: the Hudson to the west, Spuyten Duyvil Creek and the Ship Canal up north, and the Harlem River to the east. It goes without saying that with a natural setup like this, water has played an important role in the area's history. Today we're going to look at a selection of great panoramic photos that highlight the story of recreational boating along the Hudson near Dyckman Street from 1900 to about 1940. We'll start with this 1937 image. In it we see the nearly completed Cloisters Museum, still under construction though, and nearby, along the Hudson shoreline, we see a lively waterfront community filled with boats, boathouses, and floats. On the map are listed 6 boat clubs at this location that I found records for. Some clubs changed their names over the years. For example, in about 1919, the Spuyten Duyvil Club was purchased by Bernard Westmacott and later became West's Boathouse. Most of the boathouses here were built around 1911 or 1912, though some of the organizations, such as the Inwood Canoe Club, already existed when they built their boathouses here. Tubby Hook was also the site of a car ferry to New Jersey, which operated from 1915 to about 1942. On the east side of Inwood, there were 6 more boat clubs near Sherman Creek on the Harlem River, named here, as well as a houseboat colony at 207th Street and another boat colony at Shirakapak, up on Spuyten Duyvil Creek. But let's get back to the west side waterfront and its story. Archaeological evidence tells us that Tubby Hook was already a fishing spot 1,000 years ago and more. Prime fishing spots tend to continue to be used, and here on Randall's 1819 map, we can see several fishermen's houses dotting the sheltered cove. In 1835, architect and builder Samuel Thompson bought a nice chunk of land near Tubby Hook from the Dyckman brothers. He planned to build an elegant summer estate atop Inwood Hill, but before laying a single brick, he built a substantial boat landing and dock at Tubby Hook to facilitate delivery of the raw materials he would need to complete the home. We can see the mansion in its full glory illustrated in 1847 by Wade and Croom, and also in this lithograph in the same year by William Jewett. Over the next few decades, other captains of the merchant class built lofty homes atop Inwood Hill, and with the opening of the New York Railroad in 1849 and a new passenger depot at Tubby Hook, a town sprang up around the waterfront. Here's an 1853 plan showing the new train depot and the dock. Within a few years, the neighborhood had a handsome brick general store right at the water's edge, the better to take goods delivered by rail or sail. Here's an illustration of the train depot and the new general store published in an 1859 Knickerbocker magazine. And in this 1893 Sanborn map, we see the store again, along with the old Thompson boat landing at the foot of Dyckman Street. By 1900, the mansions were mostly gone, but the general store was still there near the train depot, now mostly used for freight service. Sometime around 1900, shopkeeper Robert Veitch, an avid photographer, took a series of photos of the shoreline from his side door. Put together into a panorama, they give us a fantastic sense of what the North Manhattan shoreline was like before the area became built up. As we look to the south, where the GWB is today, the water sparkles in the sunshine. Pulling back, we can see a powerful steam locomotive pulling a long load of freight cars northward below the heights of Fort Tryon. Inwood's train depot looks positively quaint, with its American Express telegraph office logo, gingerbread decorative woodwork, and 2 locals spinning yarns at the waiting room entrance. A newly paved Dyckman Street is seen at the far left. Let's take a closer look at that train station. Zooming in, we can see the beautifully patterned slate roof. I'll be quiet for a moment so we can appreciate the view here. In 1866, Scottish adventurer and author John MacGregor wrote a book about his canoe journeys. It was a bestseller, and the sport's popularity took off. In 1880, the American Canoe Association was founded, and just a few years later, the Yonkers Canoe Club began hosting regattas along the Hudson. In 1902, a group of local enthusiasts founded the Inwood Canoe Club and parked their portable boathouse in Spuyten Creek, as we can see here. By 1906, trolley and subway service had both reached Inwood. The neighborhood's population was surging, as was the growing need for summer recreation. So, sometime around 1910, the Inwood Bathing Beach opened at the foot of Dyckman Street. Here we can see its pavilion on the 1911 Bromley map, and in a postcard image from that time. By 1911, there were at least 3 boat clubs under construction at Tubby Hook. In 1914, Cox's was complete, or at least he was paying rent. And in addition to the Inwood Club, we can see the O'Connors building. They're building the Interstate Club, and Schmidt building his Spuyten Club. On the 1913 Sanborn map, we see the 5 completed boathouses: Dyckman, Interstate, Spuyten Inwood, and Weona. Cox's would be completed soon after the map was published. Already, though, people were clamoring for ferry service across the river to New Jersey. Small outfits had already been in business for a while, as seen here, and by 1915, the Dyckman Yacht Club had been torn down and replaced with an industrial-strength car ferry terminal, the Dyckman Street Ferry. When it opened for business, Dyckman Street itself was immediately transformed into a busy thoroughfare lined with garages and gas stations. In this aerial photo from 1924, we can see the row of boathouses and the ferry terminal. This is the first image where we've been able to see all the boathouses at one time, with the ferry, the Interstate Boat Club, the Spuyten Canoe and Boat Club, the Inwood Canoe Club, the Weona Yacht Club, and Cox's Boathouse. It's a few years later now, 1923. Everything looks established, meaning that there are large billboards everywhere, ice cream and hot dog stands, and lines of cars. And if you look closely, you can also see the gingerbread woodwork of the old Inwood train depot peeking out from behind a tree branch. Immediately south of the ferry complex, we can begin to see the Interstate Boathouse and West's Boathouse. It's 1935 now. Let's look on the map and see what's changed. Spuyten Club has been renamed West's, and Weona has become known as DeGeorge's. Interstate has a new dock, but the Inwood Canoe Club looks like it hasn't changed a bit. Using this great 1935 photo, we can take a closer look and zoom in on some details. As we reach the end of Boathouse Row, it's clear that something is missing. Cox's Boathouse is not there anymore. What happened? Well, in 1933, Cox's Boathouse burned to the ground. Boathouse fires were not uncommon, and we will see more evidence of that a little later. We're fortunate enough to have surviving footage of the Cox Boathouse blaze taken by Ted Roberts, manager of West's Boathouse at the time. It's a scene of total destruction. The fire department could do nothing to stop it. Maybe they could keep the fire from spreading to other boathouses. Little more. One last image, this from September of 1937. See the new landfill baseball fields being created above Tubby Hook? They used rubble from the excavation of the A-train line. Now let's zoom in on our row of boathouses and look at each, one by one. In Richard Roberts' great memoir, Boathouse Days, we learn that each boathouse was painted its own distinctive color. Cox's, not seen here, was orange. It was also the largest structure on Boathouse Row. Weona de George's, next in line, was red. It was the only boathouse with a regularly open bar. The Inwood Canoe Club was painted gray. West's/Roberts sported a yellow coat, and the Interstate Boat Club, next to the ferry terminal, was painted bright green. Here we can also see that the railroad has been raised and that there is a safe access road to these boathouses now alongside the waterfront. Using his 16mm movie camera in the 1930s, Ted Roberts captured everyday moments as well as footage from race days when the docks were packed with spectators. Let's take a look at some of this footage. And here's footage of the Dyckman Street Ferry chugging across to Palisades Interstate Park. By 1951, the ferry was long closed and its terminal demolished. Cox's boathouse was not rebuilt after the fire, though it did become sort of a parking and outdoor storage area. In 1956, the Inwood Canoe Club burned down, and in 1959, DeGeorge's Weona Club suffered the same fate. But what were the fates of the Interstate Club and Roberts Club? At this point, we don't know the answers. Inwood Canoe Club was rebuilt after 1956 and was again destroyed by fire in 1988 and rebuilt yet again. Today, it is the sole survivor along the old Boathouse Row. Once a club for competitive boatmen and even Olympians, it has become a friendly recreational paddling spot. Heading to the foot of Dyckman Street today, it's hard to imagine what a bustling place it was 50 to 100 years ago. Aside from the Inwood paddlers, much of the activity today centers at the ball fields above Tubby Hook or the restaurant scene, which occasionally causes traffic jams. It's a fascinating story, and it's only enhanced by these great panoramic photos. Thanks for watching today. It's fun to use these great old panoramas to learn about the neighborhood we live in. See you next time.